ain't got no boundaries to hold me back. Boundaries is what I lack. Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Conflation Station. Hop on board the next train out, and let's take a ride to a place where anything's possible.
Hello, and welcome to the Conflation Station. My name is Hugo Yorway, and I'll be your tour guide for today's podcast, including political commentary, conspiracy theories, and some cool music from the Electric Love Orchestra. At the Conflation Station, our team of creative writers and novice journalists combine elements of irony, satire, and pure absurdity to create insightful political commentary and homespun, conflated conspiracy theories taken from today's news headlines. Given today's media landscape filled with so much misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and where fake news is generated by artificially intelligent robots, believe it or not, anything you hear on the news today might just as well be a work of fiction. To the contrary, at the Conflation Station, you can always count on us as your most trusted news source exercising the utmost journalistic integrity and fairness. Today, our podcast features a story about President Trump's meeting with President Zelensky, his proposed second meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and his future goals for Gaza. Just in, according to information obtained by our team of novice reporters, in a contentious meeting held last week between President Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine, President Trump informed President Zelensky that the only way he would furnish the Ukraine with advanced Tomahawk missiles would be if President Zelensky himself bowed down to Trump on the steps of the Capitol building and publicly called him King Trump. According to our sources inside the White House, the proposed royal event would be capped off with a televised coronation ceremony in which President Trump would shove a scepter up President Zelensky's ass. President Trump said, quote, "If I ever give Zelensky Tomahawk missiles, which I never will, I wouldn't want to offend my best friend Vladimir Putin. You know, he and I have a great relationship. Before I would even consider it, Zelensky needs to know what it would feel like to get a Tomahawk missile shoved up his ass in public. Putin already shoved his Tomahawk up my ass several times, and if I must say so myself, each time he did it, I liked it even more. If Zelensky is unwilling to have his cornhole reamed out in public, then he can just pucker up, place his little Jewish lips on my ass, and go back home to his shithole country without anything." End quote. Trump added, quote, "If Zelensky really wants Tomahawk missiles, he can ask Senator Elizabeth Warren, who I like to call Pocahontas because she claims to be an Indian. She can give Zelensky several Tomahawks from her own personal tribal collection." End quote. In addition, Trump indicated that if there were to be a Tomahawk missile exchange in the future, it would be contingent on Zelensky holding a Say Yes to Kings rally in the streets of Kyiv to coincide with America's celebration of Veterans Day. In his response, President Zelensky walked out of his meeting with President Trump, declining to comment on either the missile exchange or the Say Yes to Kings parade in Kyiv. Instead, he told reporters, quote, "I have never seen such arrogance coming from such a small-minded man. Unlike President Trump, I, for one, still believe in protecting democracy. It is with deep regret that I say President Trump has turned the United States into a fascist state, the likes of which are only paralleled by what Adolf Hitler did in Nazi Germany." End quote. Our team of reporters learned that on his return trip to the Ukraine after his failed meeting with Trump, President Zelensky stopped in Paris, France, to meet with NATO leaders. The meeting resulted in Zelensky receiving much-needed offensive weapons from Poland and Denmark. Poland will be shipping 100,000 slingshots to Ukraine, and Denmark will be sending 40 cases each of super soakers and paint guns. Slingshot stones and paintballs will be supplied by Israel. In an interview I personally conducted with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Netanyahu indicated that Israel had a cache of several thousand slingshot stones left over from the time David battled Goliath and killed him. Netanyahu said, quote, "I will gladly donate the unused slingshot stones to my fellow Jew." End quote. President Trump was planning a second meeting with his bosom buddy, President Putin, in the next several weeks in Hungary. A readout of Trump's proposed suck-up session with Putin shows that together the two will play some shuffleboard, checkers, and watch some X-rated Russian porn movies co-starring Trump himself and First Lady Melania. However, moments ago, our reporters learned that Putin dashed the bilateral meeting with Trump after hearing that Trump would not be providing Zelensky with tomahawks. Once again, Trump was played for a fool by Putin, and he was again exposed as his patsy. And now, let's take a quick pause to enjoy a musical interlude featuring a piece by world-renowned composer E. Dude X, performed by the inimitable Rusty Stubblefield and the Electric Glove Orchestra, entitled Hell Street. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with another conflated conspiracy theory.
I'm living on Hell Street, address unknown. It's awfully fucking hot there, but I call it home. Hell Street, live on my own. The devil is my landlord and he's always home. I've got a pitchfork in my pantry and an oven full of coal. And when I finish dinner, I wind up puking up my soul. I'm living on Hell Street. I'm living on Hell Street. I'm living on Hell Street.
Thank you, boys and girls. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Remember, the Electric Glove's complete catalog is available online at Bearberry Path Music. Now that a ceasefire accord has been reached between Israel and Hamas terrorists in their individual quest for mutually assured destruction, President Trump has set his sights on the desert wasteland known as the Gaza Strip, or what Trump likes to call his own personal strip joint, for a potential real estate development deal. Rather than seek a long-term two-state solution for Palestinians to coexist with Israelis, as called for in the recently negotiated peace accord, it comes as no surprise that the Trump administration is turning its attention to rebuilding the war-torn streets of Gaza's cities and villages for Trump's own personal profit. In an interview with the Al Jazeera News Network, now a subsidiary of Fox News, Trump told reporters that, quote, "As a former slumlord myself, I have developed a knack for turning a profit on the backs of people who are suffering. Working with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, whose record on human rights is impeccable, we should be able to clear out those Hamas deplorables from Gaza immediately and have a few hotels and casinos built in less than 2 years. It will be like the French Riviera, except even bigger and better," end quote. Trump also expressed an interest in building several Trump-owned golf courses in Gaza. Trump said, quote, "With all the sand in Gaza, the Trump Gaza golf courses will have some of the world's finest and largest sand traps. If the ceasefire doesn't hold, and it doesn't look like it will, we'll just send in some B-2s to annihilate those Hamas terrorists. With 18-hole golf courses all over the country, no one will notice a couple of giant sand traps in the ground anyway," end quote.
Well, we've reached our destination. We'll be back next week to pick you up for yet another journey to and from the Conflation Station.